Hello and welcome to the HR Plug podcast. So excited that you are here with us tonight. We have a jam packed show and we're going to be talking about layoffs. Not just layoffs, but how the overpaid CEOs are handling these layoffs insensitively with the individuals who are suddenly finding themselves notified about a job loss. Tonight's guest, Paulette Clark, is too familiar with layoffs as she too has experienced it, but will be sharing with us how she pivoted and bounced back from finding out about her layoff experience. So if you're watching, let me know that you're here. Tell me where you are joining us from and say hello so that we can say hello back. We love our viewers and our guests on the show. We love your engagement, your participation. So let me know you're here. Hey, Tara, I see you're here. Welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us. Again, as you pop in, as you stop by, say hello and let me know you're watching. So I see my daughter Leah is here. Hi, Leah. Thank you for tuning in. We have Cammie out of Nashville. Hey, Cammie. Thank you for watching. Listen, you guys. We have everybody. Look, we have Victor's watching. Hey, that's my husband, y'all. He's watching, my number one supporter. Sarah says, hey, she's calling from Austin, watching us from Austin. Yes, and Tara is going to be one of our guests here at the Unplugged conference that we're having coming up in Atlanta in March. So excited about seeing you and finally getting able to hug your face, Tara. We have Tamika with us. Hi, Tamika. How are you? Thank you for joining. Listen, this is going to be an amazing show. I'm turning up my volume a little bit because I know that some people say they cannot hear me. So, going to be close to the mic. Let me know if you can't hear me, if you can hear me. But listen, we are in for a great show. We are in a time just in the second month of 2023 where we have seen thousands of employees experience layoffs, predominantly in the tech companies. And if you're on LinkedIn and active, you've seen people post, I'm grateful for the opportunity, but now I'm looking for a job. Whether it's been Twitter, Google, Amazon, everybody seemingly everywhere in the world of tech has been impacted by job loss. Now, the interesting part of all of this is that the tech CEOs are one of the highest paid leaders of the organization. So, how is it that, for example, the CEO of Amazon, Andy, made $212.7 million in 2022? Yet they are laying off employees by the masses, and Amazon's stock is plummeting. Now, the stock tells you the performance of the company. Now, I don't know if you work for an employer that you'd be able to keep your job and get your bonuses if you did not perform well. But it seems like a majority of these CEOs are making millions of dollars and underperforming and laying off people. I did a quick search, and the New York Post posted this article that talked about the top paying CEOs in 2022, and you would be astonished to hear David Zaslav, he's the CEO of Warner Brothers Discovery, pulled in $246 million last year. And then we have the CEO of Estee Lauder, Fabrizio Frida, who pulled in $66 million last year. You have Intel CEO Patrick, $178.6 million last year. These CEOs are pocketing well beyond what's considered a livable wage, but then get a little stingy with the pockets when it comes to paying equitable wages for the employees responsible for these astronomical numbers that they're able to be compensated in. Now, my bigger problem with this is they don't want to take pay cuts. And I know you guys have heard about the Apple CEO who has agreed and voluntarily said that he was going to take a pay cut. And his pay cut is 40% of his salary. So unfortunately, guess what? He's only going to be bringing home $42.0 million this year after the pay cut. If you really take the time to look at what CEOs are making in comparison to what the average employee makes at these companies, I'm going to tell you Amazon to put it in perspective. I told you that their CEO made over $200 million in 2022. Yet the average, this is just the average employee at Amazon brings home $32,885. There is a severe gap here at CEOs and these leaders continuing to make millions despite underperforming companies, evident by the need to lay off people. Yet the impacted people are the employees who have to now find work, find sustainable income in a matter of weeks. Now, that's not what today's show is about per se, but I wanted to shed light to help the leaders understand this is why employees are mad. This is why they're standing in solidarity. This is why they're walking out. This is why they're losing trust in who you are as a leader because you're not caring about their well-being. And somebody just commented saying the same thing, and they wonder why employees fight for a union. Now, if you're not a stranger to this show, you know my views on unions. I do not believe that they should be necessary in this company because I think people should care, but we all know, evident by this here, that they don't. They don't all the time. Now, here's the other kicker. During all of these mass layoffs, there have been posts and stories about employees sharing how they find out about these layoffs. Now, this is what really got my blood boiling, you guys, because I'm all for treating people, regardless of what decisions you have to make as a business, with value and respect. But for me to find out from my boss through a LinkedIn message that my job was impacted, that's a problem. For me to find out through a text message from my boss, did you see the news? Jobs were impacted. And oh, by the way, we were too. That's a problem. People should not find out about a layoff simply because it's on the news, simply because other people are posting about it. There has to be a level of respect. Now, TS1 here, hi, thank you for joining, says all unions aren't good, and I certainly agree with you. All unions are not good. Unions are a business just like corporations. Their leaders also bring home millions of dollars, and it's all public knowledge so that you can go and look at. It's a business. Everything seems to be business related these days. However, the greed and the desire to make money and run the business is overshadowing the obligation and responsibility to take care of people. That is why we're in the situation that we're in today. We are in a situation where people are losing their jobs, but not only losing their jobs, but they're losing their respect for the companies that they work for. So that's what we're going to be talking about today as we hop into layoffs. And you're going to want to stay and watch because at the very end, I'm going to tell you 6 things that you are going to want to know and do if you have been a subject of a layoff. So I'm going to take a pause real quick and tell you guys about the Black in HR. They are a sponsor of this podcast, and they are here to give HR professionals support and resources, and also those in the business of looking for a career because they were potentially impacted by job layoffs. The Black in HR have resources that are available for the career seeker, the career finder, and the career giver. So take a quick look at this ad and I will be right back.
Looking for a network to elevate your career goals? Membership with the Black in HR has benefits designed to elevate you as a professional. Our members grow their careers, connecting through networking events, professional courses, and social groups. The Elite Membership Program includes discounts on coaching and courses, private events, and free masterclasses from world-class instructors. Visit theblackinhr.com to register and join us.
All right. And as I mentioned, they are a sponsor of this podcast. They are also the sponsor of our networking event that is going to be happening in March 30th and 31st at the Unplug HR Conference right here in Atlanta, where we're going to be talking about HR evolution and how HR and business leaders needs to adapt and adopt to new ways of working. So make sure you head over to unplugconference.com and get your ticket so that you can experience the evolution of the future of work and what will be required in order for you to retain, respect, and value the individuals who are working for your organizations today. So, now, hi Kimberly, thank you for joining. I see you are here. Don't forget to drop in and let me know when you join us and say hello so that we can thank you and acknowledge your presence because the show would not be possible without you. So, our guest tonight is Paulette Clark. Paulette is the founder and CEO of Brownstone Worldwide. I'm going to bring her out here and allow her to introduce herself to you. Hey, Paulette.
How are you? Good to see you, LaShawn.
Look, it's so good to
Happy to
see
have.
you.
Yeah,
Hey.
I'm happy to have been honored to grace your platform. This is amazing. Thank you for having me.
Well, listen, I'm glad you are here to share your story with everyone about your layoff experience, what you learned from that experience, and how you've bounced back and what you're doing today. So, we are equally as honored to have you as a part of our show because I'm certain that our viewers are going to be able to learn something through your experience. So,
Yeah.
Paulette,
Okay.
let's first start
Yes.
and tell us a little bit about you before the layoff. What were you doing and what happened to get
Well,
you to a point of where you are today? So let's dissect that a little bit. So Tara says she
okay.
can't. First of all, listen, Tara, Paulette, she's pretty great. Listen, I try,
Oh,
but she says she can't wait to learn from you. So we
thank
are
you,
so
Tara.
honored that you
Okay.
are here.
Okay.
So, Paulette, you heard the introduction. We're talking about layoffs today.
Mhm.
Not only are we talking about the millions of dollars that CEOs who lead these companies that are underperforming make, that are
Mhm.
having these mass layoffs and the
Yeah.
insurmountable amount of layoffs that have happened so far in 2023, we're also
Mhm.
talking about the insensitive ways that these layoffs were handled
Mm.
and how they're not handled with
Mm.
care or compassion
Mm.
and the impact that is having on workers who are experiencing these unfortunate situations. So, I want to first start by saying to you, you first have persevered through it. So, congratulations. You didn't let
Thank
this
you.
end you. You didn't let this make you believe that it was the end for you, but you were able
Yeah.
to pivot and you were able to bounce back. And that's something that's
Yeah.
worth recognizing and celebrating. So,
Well,
I'm
thank
so
you.
I'm so excited for you to share and give some words of encouragement for
Yeah.
other people who might be encountering the same thing, faced with a layoff. They don't have a plan and they don't know what to do. But before we
Mm-mm.
get there, first, Paulette, tell us, what was your layoff experience like? How were you treated? How were you handled? And is it were you handled with care and compassion, or tell us a little bit about it?
First of all, hold on. It's getting hot.
The fan, not the
It's
fan.
out. I'm about to go in.
Go ahead.
So, without naming company names,
Okay.
um, I had been with the company 6 years, right?
Hmm.
I started from the bottom. Now we hear kind of story. I really
Hmm.
just needed something to do, until I could get back in my field. I'm from the broadcasting field, from the entertainment industry, and I really just wanted to be able to provide for my family until I could get back into the entertainment industry. actually broadcasting. So
Mm.
I thought, oh, this would be kind of cool. Honey, I looked up and it was 6 years later. Okay. Now, during that time, the company was going through some changes. And I can recall, I'm going to be nice, the changes that were being asked to happen were not ever honored.
Mm.
And then there was a change that happened, and the company went through a merger of sorts. And then all of a sudden, I had a new position and more money. And before that, so many other people had already started leaving before me that I started seeing the signs that something was wrong. But then you already know, if somebody's not treating you right, they're not treating their employees right, no matter what you say to them, no matter what you do, you already know that there's an issue behind the scenes anyway.
Yes.
So it doesn't
Yes.
matter that, I was seeing all of this other stuff that was coming down the pipe. So, oh, this is going to be new. This is going to be fabulous. We have this new thing that's happening. Here's what we want you to do. We want you to focus on this. We want you to be over North America, XYZ, da 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 da.
So they built
Well,
you up to make you believe that
uh,
this was a good thing.
built me up, and I was like, okay, so let me be clear on one thing. I never not once trusted what I was experiencing at that point, because yes, they built me up, put me in a room with all of the new leadership. It was like, here's what we want you to do. This is what we want you to focus on, and
Mm.
XYZ. But at not one time, and the reason, let me say why I'm setting this up, right? Because I need people to start paying attention to the signs early.
Mm.
Not one time was I ever blind. Let's be clear. Let's be clear. Let's be clear. Okay. That was never the situation, because I was watching this mass exodus of excellent professionals leave before me. And
Mm.
so I thought, okay, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to start getting ready. I was already, creating the exit strategy. I wasn't quiet quitting at
Wow.
all.
So you were
You know what
looking
I
at
mean?
what was happening with the people
Absolutely.
around you. All of a sudden, you see people resigning, even though the
Hmm.
company is placating, like, oh, this is great. We're merging. This is going to be great. But you're
Yes.
looking at, why they leaving? Why they leaving? And
Why
then
they
that was
leave?
an indication for you that something was coming down the pipeline.
Absolutely, yes. And I
Gotcha.
knew. And I said, and so one day I was walking down the hall and everyone was gone. Literally. My boss was gone. Um, uh, Another person in leadership was gone. Everyone had left, and it was absolutely quiet. And I was the only one left. And I literally was walking down the hall and I was shedding tears because I knew it was over.
Mm.
And everybody's time, or I guess their signs are different, but mine was beating me upside the head. How much more could you get from
Mm.
seeing everybody else leaving? And so I started looking for other opportunities while I continued with my current day-to-day job. And so they had given me this new position. They had told me exactly what they wanted me to do, what they wanted me to focus on. But I'm going to put this out here. Can I go here? Is it
Go
all right?
ahead. It's all
It's all
right. Go
right.
ahead.
Okay. All right. Well, praise the Lord, saints, because I'm about to go in. See y'all. Okay, I got to do this again because it's about to get heavy. So I'm the blackest thing on my team,
Mm. Mm.
on my new team. I'm not even gonna say what my role was. It's not important
Okay.
because I had a new role, I had new money, but I'm the blackest thing on the team. Somehow, I am being given directives by one person, and I follow those directives,
Mm.
and somehow senior leadership says, no, that's not what we told you to do. Well, how in the hell would you know? You weren't in the meetings.
Mm.
You weren't there. So
So
okay, we're
would you
gonna fall
say, let
back.
me just make sure I'm
Come
following
on,
you. So would
come
you
on, come
say
on, come on.
that people need to be mindful of who's suddenly giving you direction and instruction?
Hmm.
Because if suddenly it's not your manager, but it's
Yep.
three levels
Hmm.
above who begins questioning you
That
or
part.
saying, why are you doing this? That could be
Yes.
an indication.
Patient that
Okay.
you are next in line for a miracle. Okay. And so I was paying attention and I'm like, okay, now wait a minute now. Now I know that I've been holding meetings and I've been doing, and not only that, I am an email queen, right? So
Mm.
every time I was holding an email, holding a conversation or meeting or whatever with all of these people that I'm now responsible for, guess who got that communication? everybody above us, right? So you're
Mm-hmm.
not new to this. You already know what's going on. And so I'm paying attention to you telling me, you're tapping me on the hand and you're saying, no, that's not what we told you to do. No, that's not what we told you to do. Oh, no, you can't do that because guess what? You don't have a budget and we haven't even created a budget for you yet, right? But you're giving me all of these responsibilities, but you're not giving me the tools that I need. Does that sound like that
Oh,
strong leadership for you?
listen, let me break it down for the people to what that exactly means. It
Mm,
means that local leadership had a plan, potentially. And then the people who aren't there in that facility or involved in your day to day gave a different plan that maybe even
correct.
your local leadership had no say
Absolutely.
in. And so they come
Absolutely.
swooping in and giving different direction. And then when you start
Hmm.
seeing these changes happen with your position, that should
Yeah.
be a red flag that there's something going on that's even above your leader and potentially your leader's
Correct.
leader, because they
Absolutely.
also don't have a say and they too could be impacted as well.
Right.
So you know you have to look at changes. Let's regroup what
Hmm.
you said, recap what you said, Paula. Number one, look at your
Hmm.
surroundings. Do you see
Correct.
other people in departments suddenly leaving? Are there
Mm.
mass exoduses out of other people's
Yes.
department, whether
Yes.
involuntarily or voluntary? That's a
Hmm.
sign. And then number
Yeah.
two, have your expectations of what's been explained to you to do changed? And is who's giving you direction or questioning what you're doing different than anybody else that you've ever dealt with while you were working there?
Absolutely.
These are the things
Absolutely.
that you need to be mindful of to let you know that there could be trouble in the home office
Uh-huh.
that could
Absolutely.
impact your job.
And I knew it. I knew,
Mm.
and I could tell. But along the way, one of the other things that I also was doing was I was continuing to be proactive in my search, right? Because I could
Ah.
smell it coming. Okay.
Mm.
And I'm just keeping it real. One of the things that I always like to do anyway is I always like to keep a ram in the bush anyway. All right.
Uh-huh.
And so I'm just, you said be myself. I said, okay, I'm
You
be
be
myself. So we
yourself.
go ahead. So we're talking about the fact that all my life I had to fight. Okay. And so knowing that all my life I had to fight as a
Yes.
single Black mother of four beautiful children, I had to make a decision that you're going to eat whether I'm working in somebody's job or
Mm.
not. So what do we always have in the coffers? We always have something in the wings. So I was always prepared because you never know what's going to come down the pipe. So I always had rules. I never had anything in my office that belonged to me, if you will. Even
Mm-hmm.
though people might have said, oh, well, she's real protective. That's because that's what I was responsible for. But you could never not once walk in my office and see a family photo. You could never not once walk in my office and
Mm.
see anything that was personally mine, right? That I couldn't pick up at one time and walk away
Mm.
with. And it was probably one of these, right?
Mm.
So those were the rules that I had for years and years and years. Always be ready to walk away. Okay. Don't get
Mm-hmm.
caught with a box walking out of no office. Okay.
Well,
So,
let me say this to
mhm,
that, because I'm gonna
yes.
tell you what the biggest issue is for a lot of employees.
Yeah.
So you're grateful you have the job and you've
Hmm.
been there for years, 5, 10, 15, maybe 20 years, and then you have this thing that I like to call a false sense of loyalty.
Correct.
You are comfortable, this is what you know, and you don't
Yep.
want to leave. You have this mentality that, well, if I go, they're going to have to push me out mentality. Or you
Hmm.
have the mentality of, no, my boss really likes me. I'm going to be good. It's false loyalty. You know
Yeah.
that song, These Blanks Ain't Loyal?
Mm.
These jobs are also not loyal. And at the end of the day, it is a business. No
Correct.
matter how much you
Absolutely.
like your boss, no matter how much your boss likes you, no matter how much of a family they say you guys are, as far as I know, you can't excommunicate your family. Y'all are there in
Correct.
the end, but a business will toss you to
Hmm.
the side the moment you question, the moment you ask, or the moment they
Hmm.
begin to dislike you.
Correct.
So do
Correct.
not fall for the false sense of
Correct.
loyalty, no matter how many years
Absolutely.
you have in there. And like you
Right.
said, Paulette, you didn't. Y'all didn't even go see my family. Y'all ain't go
No,
get a picture.
no, I never
When
did.
I don't even need a. You need a box. I mean, I don't need a box. I got
No,
my
I don't need
phone.
a box. What? Let me tell you what happened when they. So let me tell you how this ended. So I knew something was wrong because my boss wouldn't talk to me, right? And whenever you talk to me,
Mm.
I was being chastised for something that y'all told me that I had the ability to do, and now all of a sudden it's a problem. right? So you
Mm.
were giving me signs and you were giving me signals that I was not someone that you wanted to continue to do what you said that I was given the ability to, including this cute little
Mm.
salary. You know what I mean? And so I started saying to myself, now what is it that I know how to do again? Oh, okay, I know how to do this. I know how to do that. I know how to build websites. Okay, let me go ahead and dust off this degree and that MBA and that doctor. What do I need to do to prepare for the next
Mm.
phase? Because it was on its way. And so one day I come into work, and this was actually on my birthday. Let's talk about that.
Mm.
And my boss shows up, had flown in town. She'd never done that. And
Ever.
I knew
She did it because it was your
ever.
birthday. Girl, she wanted to say happy
She did it
birthday.
because that was my birthday. It was my birthday, honey. I had cupcakes and everything. Somebody had given me cupcakes. I thought that was so sweet. And so I'm distributing those. And I'm like, hey, would you like a cupcake? Even though I'm knowing in my head, this it. So that
So
next
wait, I'm
morning,
sorry. Are you suggesting that you were served a layoff notice on your birthday?
the day after, if she had not found out it was my birthday, I was going to get let go that day. I think that was my birthday gift to me. She said, oh, it can wait until tomorrow. Hmm. And I
And
got in
never
my car and
came
I said,
down
I bet it can.
before. Never came
No,
down. Never had a.
not to visit me, not to see what was really going on, not to see how I had grown a program that I said that I was going to grow. No, absolutely not. So I already knew. I already
Mm.
knew. And so that next day, you decide that you're gonna get security. I don't need no security. Which y'all, you can leave.
I'm
You can
sorry.
leave.
Hold
Hey,
on. You
yeah.
see you glazing over this. So in the meeting, so the next day you're having your meeting that you now know was your layoff
Oh, I
conversation.
knew it when she called me in there.
And
I
what
was
was the
ready. I
point of
brought my laptop
security
and my cell phone
exactly?
and everything. Here, honey. Here, you can have it.
And what was the point of
Yes.
security exactly?
I don't know, but here's what I will tell you. Number one, it was we are eliminating your position. And I looked at her just like I'm looking at you now. Because in my head, I was saying, yes, this is it. Oh, come on, give me the severance package. And so they called someone else and she propped her phone up and she said, we're eliminating your position. I don't know if it was a look of fear in her face or whatever.
Mm.
I'm not sure exactly what it was, but I got the feeling that you think or thought that I was a violent individual. I don't know if it's because I'm a brown skinned cousin or whatever it is, but your assumption was that I was going to get violent, and that's not in my nature. Now I'm gonna get smart with you if I need to, but never, not once are you going to ever get me to be violent or ugly or any of the other things that you think that Keisha and them does,
So
right?
so let
Because
me
you
so
don't
let me
know
say
me.
this. In your layoff meeting, so let's recap. The
Hmm.
boss who never comes and
Never.
visits you, came, which happened to be your birthday, which clearly she didn't know it
Hmm.
was your birthday till she walked in, saw the cupcakes and everybody in the balloons. So then she said,
Hmm.
oh, we can meet tomorrow. So she rescheduled the
Uh-huh.
meeting the next day.
Yes.
You walk into the meeting to find security just in the meeting with your boss?
Well, they walked in
Oh, they walked
and they
in.
leaned in, kind of like, "Do I need to be in here?" And I looked and I said, "No,"
You
because
answered
I'm not
for.
that person. I'm not that person. And
So
this
let's.
person knows me personally, right? So they're just doing their job, okay? But what you're not going to do is walk me out of here like I'm some kind of criminal. What you're not
Mm,
going to do is treat me like I didn't bleed the company colors for years and that I
mm,
was not loyal to that company for years and I would go to bat for you guys even with employees who were fed up to the nth
mm-hmm,
degree with the culture that was being permeated downstream
mm.
from the top, right? You are not going to treat me like my name is Lisa Ann Keisha Twort Twort in the
Mm.
street. We're not going to do that.
So you went from
We're not.
an ally to this company to being
Oh,
alienated by this
oh,
company and then
absolutely.
eventually abandoned by this
Correct. And
company.
it was the way that it was done. Okay.
Mm,
My email access and all of that. And I'm like, okay, let me go in ahead and I need to move some and she's grabbing my laptop, right? And she was like, no, you can't do that. I said, do what? I said, back up. We good.
mm.
So then she says, oh, you can't walk in there anymore. I said, watch me.
So that was
Just like that.
that was the walk like
Mhm.
basically, hey, your job's eliminated, you got to go right now.
You got to go right now.
Listen,
Period. That's what they did.
And it's sad that we're talking about that, but it's not uncommon. If you guys
Mhm.
simply Google or do a quick search on layoff announcements and impacts, I saw a story about a young lady who worked for Google, and she had grown fame on TikTok for doing videos about a day in the life at Google. And her last video was a day in the life at Google after being notified through text message by her boss that her job was eliminated. And she began crying profusely. She worked from home, access cut off, can't even say goodbye to coworkers or
Right.
colleagues. If you
Right.
didn't have their personal numbers, you just had no other way to
Yeah.
connect with them. People were
Right.
community on getting on LinkedIn to find out who else was. I mean, this is what we're doing to people. We're treating them like aliens,
Criminals.
alienating them from the company after years of dedication and
Years
service.
of dedication.
We've
And
got
and
to do
here's
better.
here's we have to do better. And here's what really threw me with my background and with my experience and what I have been doing for years and years and years. I found it very interesting that you couldn't find a place for me within the organization rather
Mm.
than just saying, now let me just be clear. I ain't want that. Okay. Let's just put it just like that.
But if
But I
we're talking
found it
about empathy
interesting.
and compassion, it
Right.
should
When
have
I'm
been
talking
offered.
about that part, that should have been something. Wait a minute, y'all. This girl has been down for us. She done been in the trenches for us. She been
Mm.
the mold for us. She's been all the things. And this is how you treat her walking out the door. And then you had nerve enough to treat me like I was a common criminal.
Mm.
I didn't appreciate that.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
it's just
Absolutely didn't
these
appreciate it.
companies can too easily just
Hmm.
in relationships. And somebody said it earlier, and they wonder why all these employees are walking out of jobs. Because see, what happens is when an employee say, "Let's stand in solidarity," it's an intentional plan to disrupt the workplace. Meaning,
Period.
you gonna think we all here working, and then at 11 o'clock, we're all gonna stop what we're doing and walk out
Hmm.
together, so that you can
Hmm.
feel the immediate impact of loss.
Yeah.
Companies get mad, they get union busting, they get all these feels and emotions. Like, who are you
Hmm.
all to walk out? And we got a business to run. But then
Right.
do not wear that same hat when they think about mass layoffs and suddenly affecting the rest of people's lives
Yes.
by telling them,
Absolutely.
effective today, you no longer have a job.
And we need you to leave right now. And so I got up from where I was and I calmly went to go get my laptop bag. I gave her my little phone, honey. I gave her the little laptop and stuff. Cause see, I don't ever want you to think I don't have stuff at home. You know what I
Right.
mean? So here, y'all go ahead and have this stuff because ain't nothing on here that I want that I don't already have access to. Let's be clear. Let's keep let's be clear. Right. And so she walks behind me and she was like, you can't, she's saying, you can't go in there. And I gently leaned over because she's a little short woman.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, watch me. Who gonna
Mm.
stop me? And I went and I grabbed my things and I walked out. I didn't wait for nobody to come get me. I said, you don't have to
Escort
go
you.
get nobody for me. I'm grown. I walked in here the day that I started, which was January 11th. I remember
And
the
walk out.
day and I will walk out this bad boy
Mm-hmm.
the same door that I walked into. And the joy, oh, the
Mm.
joy that I felt when I walked out because I had been feeling it for some time. And
Mm-hmm.
even though I had been rejected by one company 12 times, I was like, well, I guess I ain't supposed to be there. So I just, people were walking behind me going, is everything all right? I said, oh, everything is fabulous. I had my little severance package with me and stuff, honey, and I was
Mm.
going to take a couple of days and I was going to read over it, and let me just say this, a couple of things. One, I have to go here, all joking aside, because I'm quite the jokester and can be. What I want you all to understand is I did always have rules. The number one rule of thumb was that these jobs ain't loyal. I'm gonna be loyal to me. Here's what I need everyone that is listening to the sound of my voice to hear. You are a business. You are
Mm.
providing a service to this business because they can't do what you do. I don't care if
Mm.
it's packing a box. right?
Mm.
And so at every turn, you need to constantly be assessing whether or not this company is providing you, the service provider, what you need in
Yes.
order to do your job effectively. If they are not, it is okay for you to fire them. And we got it wrong. We got it wrong. We
Come
don't do that.
on.
We get comfortable. We get laid back, honey, because we got HSA, we got insurance. Yeah, like the old folks say, we got insurance, honey. We got all the stuff. And we never look at ourselves
Mhm.
as a business providing a service because
You
that's what we're
are
doing.
a business.
Period.
And we say it all the time during job interviews, right? Like you're also interviewing the company that is interviewing
Mhm.
you. Like we hammer it in then, but how you are treated on a job and the level of tolerance that you
Yes.
take from an employer that is treating you badly on a
Yes.
job is a representation of how much you value yourself. And no
That
one's
part.
going to value you more than you value
You
you.
value
So if that
yourself.
leader yells
Come on.
at you and
Come
you
on.
accept it because you need your insurance, your HSA, and you just look the other way and don't correct, then you are devaluing yourself and there's
That
no
part.
reason for them to treat you any better. You are
Correct.
a business.
You are a business, period. And I always knew that, even as a young woman, growing up in, see, I'm from the entertainment industry, and people know that. A lot of people
Yes.
know that. So I sang full time, and I always knew I was the business because I was the one that was signing my name on those contracts. I was the one that had to make sure that my checks were
Mm.
getting cut and my royalty checks were getting cut, right? It's the exact same thing. So I wasn't bothered when she came in and was like, it's time for you to leave. This is what you've got to do. Oh, okay. You ain't said nothing but a word, man. See ya.
Wow. You were ready.
I was ready. And
So
let
to
me explain
recap. Oh,
something.
go
Yeah,
ahead. Go
go ahead.
ahead.
Go ahead. No, what I was gonna say is I need you all to hear me when I say this unequivocally.
Hmm.
Stay ready. Stay ready. Cause these jobs ain't loyal.
These, that should have been
Stay
the
ready.
title of the podcast.
Come on now.
These
Come on now.
jobs ain't
They
loyal.
not. So
So
you shouldn't be.
yeah, let me recap for the people that might just be joining or miss the beginning of this show. We have Paulette Clark here, CEO of Brownstone Worldwide, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. But here's what you need to do to be prepared for a layoff. Here are the red flags that should be an indication that there is something wrong in the home office, in the corporate office. One, look at your surroundings. Are people quitting? Is there a hiring freeze? Are they not hiring anybody? Are people, other departments being laid off? Or are people voluntarily resigning who you see very highly of, or who've been here a long time, or who are very talented and you're not sure why they're leaving? Or are people retiring early? Look at
Mm,
what's happening around you, because that will be an indication of what could be coming down the pipeline. Number two, you have to look at when they're coming to you saying your responsibilities are changing, your role or your scope is expanding or reducing, or all of a sudden now you're over 15 departments where before you only had 8, and you're looking at them reshuffling and readjusting your assignment. That could be an indication that there are issues that are coming down the pipeline. Number three, when you start getting direction, communication from leaders 3 levels above yours, questioning what
mhm,
you're doing, or
mm,
suddenly
mm.
having an investment in what your role is and start asking you questions over things you might have been doing for some time, they now are involved because somebody's looking at you and your department. Okay. It may not be your immediate leader. It may not be your immediate supervisor. But when you start seeing emails, getting questions from people 2 and 3 levels above you, it's an indication that your department is being discussed. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Number four, if you all of a sudden now are being ridiculed by your immediate boss, now all of a sudden you're questioning something I've been doing all this time. Now it's a problem. Now my performance is suddenly deteriorating,
Mhm, mhm.
and now we never met before. Now you want to meet with me. We never had one-on-ones before. Now you want to get some structure in place. Like you want to start looking at the things that are changing
Yeah,
around you to know what could be potentially happening with you or your department. And then
yeah.
number five, look at yourself as a business. Don't
Business.
accept or tolerate anything from your employer because they are not your they're just a resource. They're not the source. They are just
There you
a
go.
resource. And the talent that you give there, unappreciated, will likely be appreciated elsewhere. You just have to let go of fear and not be afraid to jump
There
and
you
not
go.
be afraid to demand better for you. Does that pretty much sum up everything that we've talked about so far, Paulette?
Ma'am, you did
Yeah.
that. You knocked it out the park. You made it sound real professional. Because listen, let me just say, that's exactly what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
And I can be quite animated. You know this about me. But I just really want to put this out there that it is so important that you always value you first, right?
Mm-hmm.
You are the business. And I cannot stress that enough. I would say that when I was doing orientations and when I was talking to people who were looking for something to do differently. You are the
Mm-hmm.
business. And as a business owner, one of the things that we know is we always have to make sure that our machine eats,
Yes.
right? The
Yes.
business is a baby. It's gonna eat. You know what it's gonna eat? It's gonna eat the light bill, the water bill, the internet bill, honey. It's gonna eat the all the services that you use, your click funnels, your active campaigns, all of the things
All of
that you
it.
need. And in order for you to do that, you have to go out here and find the coins to feed the beast,
Right.
right? And
Right.
if it is not being handled properly in your work environment or where you are providing your services, ladies and
Mm-hmm.
gentlemen, then what you need to do is find some place that is going to allow you to be able to provide your services for
Absolutely.
a nominal fee so you can continue to feed the beast. And your beast may not be like mine. Your beast may be called your mortgage and your car note.
Mm.
Your beast may be your tuition for your children. Do you know what I mean? And so
Yes.
you have to look at it like that because your beast is going to eat. And if it does not eat, guess what's going to happen? Either it's going to starve or it's going to go somewhere else. You decide what's going to
Mm-hmm.
happen and how that's going to impact your personal bottom line.
Yes.
That's it.
Listen, Paulette, this is woo. This has been a lot. This has been a lot. But listen, it's definitely necessary. The other thing, so you've been able to bounce back, Paulette, because you didn't go in with an expectation of the company seeing you as as something that they have to care for. You went into it like, you know what? I'm a business. I'm gonna be okay.
Period.
I don't come
Hmm.
in with any expectations that you're here to do anything for me because this is not a family. So, companies,
Hmm.
if you refer to yourself as a family, please stop because you're not.
Because
You
you're
do not
not.
treat these employees like they're your children. You treat them
Mm-mm.
worse than you would treat somebody you love. Now, if
Mm-mm.
you're one of those rare companies that treat people like people you love, then go ahead and put family out there. But 99.9999% of companies out here should not be referring to themselves as a family. These people are not your brothers and sisters. These people are not your
No.
parents. They're
Nope.
not going to have the care, compassion, or grace that comes with family because they're a business. And if you
Right.
remember that at the end of the day, it helps you recover from your bounce back. It helps you not
Absolutely.
fall into the trap of feeling hurt or betrayed by something or an entity that was never designed to care for you.
Correct. That
And
part.
we
You hit it
mistake
right on the head.
we mistake people and emotions with business, and that's how we get
Yes.
hurt.
Yeah. And I like to put this in perspective here. A good friend of mine, Dr. Michelle Josie of Mogul Beginnings, she's a data scientist, and she
Hey, Dr.
always says, pay
Josie.
attention. Hey, Dr. Josie. So listen, let me tell you something. One of the things that she always says is pay attention to the data because what numbers don't lie.
Mm,
Your data is always looking you in the face.
yes.
And I was clear that the data was telling me that it was over,
Mm,
right? And so in I wasn't waiting, let's be clear, because as you said, I already was living before
mm-hmm.
I started at this company. So guess what I was going to be doing after? What was I
Living.
doing during? I was
Living.
living, right? This was just a piece of my life. And let me be
Mm-hmm.
clear on one thing. And I always encourage people to do this. As a young woman, I always had more than one stream of income all the time. That wasn't new for me. I braided hair. I sang on other people's projects. I would go in and cut commercials. I was building websites. I was doing all the things, right? And in the middle of that, I was in school doing all of that. So in between classes, honey, I had to figure out a way to feed my family. I had kids. And so what I would do is I would work from home. I never babysat. We're not going to do that because I don't like y'all kids like that. But I'm saying when it comes to learning how to bring in money. See, hear me well, and I'm going to say this again. All you trying to do is feed the beast, whatever your business is. You know what I'm saying? Again, your business is your mortgage, it's your car note, it's your light bill, it's your whatever, right? So that's your business. You know, you hear people say, stay out of my business. Well, honey, if that's your business, stay in your business, whatever that means for you. So if you have to learn how to do an extra side gig or do surveys on the side or sell some affiliate programs or whatever, you feed in your beast.
That's it.
And all that job is helping to feed the beast.
Yes.
Keep that in perspective.
Right. It's
They
not
don't like
beast.
you like that. They holding whole conversations about you behind closed doors. So please be aware. Every chance I got, sometimes, honey, I would get in my car and I would just drive home and I would be like, okay, how was today? What could I have done? What could I have done differently to make this better or that better? Right. But always knowing in the back of my mind, I was having a conversation with me, myself, and I, and my corporate structure on what the next phase was going to be for me. I was never nobody's fool. I don't want anybody to ever think that may be watching, that may know me personally or whatever. Listen, I was well above what they were doing, and I knew it was coming down the pipe, so I was
because
prepared.
you looked at the red flags.
Oh my God, I paid attention to the data. It was all over the place. I'm walking down the hallway and ain't nobody there. All the offices is quiet.
You got to pay attention. Don't think of it
to pay
as, ooh,
attention.
I dodged a bullet. Nah. That
No.
thing gonna boomerang and come back because it's a business. So
That part.
tell us, Paulette, you have not let the awful experience of your layoff and what happened with it, cause you to lose any ambition or drive to feed your beast, because as you said, you looked at the signs, you shared those red flags with us. What are you doing now? And do you see yourself going back to corporate America after this experience?
You want me to cuss on your show, don't you?
I absolutely do not, because I don't want to get banned, but I guess, in your little...
Hell no. Let me say it like that.
You're not going back to corporate America?
No. So what I'm doing right now, so let me back up just a little bit. When I relocated back to Atlanta from Arkansas, where I was a PD at a radio station, 3 radio stations to be exact, I always knew I was coming here to build my business. That's it. It was always the thing. I don't know how any other way to be except in control of my own destiny, my own coinage. You know what I mean? And so the 6 years that it took 6 years. So let me be very clear. It did what it was supposed to do. It fed my family. It provided us with health insurance. It fed the beast. Yeah. It fed my business. Not only did it feed my business, it fueled the one that I'm working on now. Yes. So let's be clear that it did what
now
it was.
That's a whole nother podcast show. How to prepare for your business while working for somebody else's as a business.
There you go.
That's
as
a whole
business.
Show.
It really is. And so I never, not once, kept my focus off that. I was having things built. I was meeting with people. I was cajoling with people and networking and creating the next phase. And I will be honest with you. The best thing that ever happened to me in this job was the fact that I was given the opportunity to develop out some of the stuff that I needed in order for me to do what I'm doing now. So I was honing my craft while I was there.
Ooh,
That
you
was a
going
blessing.
into the next show. You going into another show right there.
I'm just saying. So,
Get
and
them,
I
get
apologize for that. I ain't trying to do that, but that's really what I was doing. And I was like, all right, so I got that done. I was checks and balances. Okay, that's done. All right, so I'm gonna give it another 6 months and let's see how we do. Okay, how's my numbers over here? Let me go on back over here. Let me
Tamika
continue
says
to set this up and set
congratulations.
this up.
Hmm.
Well, thank you so much, Tamika. I appreciate it. So it was never an idea in my head that I'm gonna be here for 10 years, 7 years. I'm shocked I stayed for 6.
So listen, if you want to be able to bounce back from a layoff, you have to go into it with no expectations that that's your long-term plan. What are your
Period.
long-term goals? What do you want to be 20 years? And if your answer is I still want to be at this company's, then you need to reevaluate your goal because a business is not, you're not a vendor, you're a business.
Yeah,
Okay? So when you're operating like a business, then you can build business and you can
that's right.
leverage what you're learning during your
Mhm.
time serving these other businesses to make it work for you. Like Paulette began to share, but maybe we'll bring her back to talk about that on another episode because there are a lot of strategies that you should be doing to
Absolutely.
using your current business to fuel your next. Okay?
Yeah.
There's a list. We're not going to talk about that tonight because what I want to do before we go is I want you to talk about your business. Tell us about
Yeah.
the Brownstone Worldwide. What is it? What do you do?
Okay.
And where
Sure.
can we find you?
All right. Well, I'm going to give you my elevator pitch.
Let's see
I
it.
am Paulette. Yes. All right. So this is your girl Paulette. I am the owner and founder of Brownstone Worldwide. It houses brownstoneworldwide.com. We have KCCR The Brownstone, which is a podcasting app. You can download it on iOS or Android devices. It's available on Alexa and also on Google Echo. Also, we have Brownstone Living Magazine and brownstonemarketplace.com. Now, that is a media company in and of itself. Now, do you think I would have been able to develop and create all of that without having a strategy?
Mm,
I wouldn't have been able to do it. So this is where spirit comes in. This is where we have to listen to our higher selves
yes.
and pay attention to the signs. And so in the 5.5, 6 years that I was at this particular company, one of the things that I was doing was when I would leave work, I would clock out on one and I was clocking in on my own,
Mm,
right? Because I deserve that, right? Because
mm-hmm.
I saw the bigger picture. And so, what we do at Brownstone Worldwide, and then I'm going to circle back, what we do at Brownstone Worldwide is we help to change the narrative of how we see ourselves as Black and Brown individuals. And we continue to tell our stories our way. And that's
Mm,
important, right? Because we are asking people to give us a platform to talk about Black history. We're asking people to give us permission to tell things about average, everyday people who look like you and I, who are men and women of different races and all walks of life in this urban diaspora. And instead of waiting for me to get permission from you, I'm going to just create it. And so that's what I did.
wow. So
That's
you're a
it.
conglomerate for real. Like you have
Yeah.
different businesses within a
Hmm.
business that's
Hmm.
now a brand
It's a
that
brand.
started from you
Absolutely.
seeing yourself as a business
That part.
at your employer.
That's
Well,
it.
listen, I need
Always.
everybody right now to go to, well, not tonight, I won't say right now, but go to brownstoneworldwide.com because
Please do.
last week, Paula and I had a conversation on her show. I'm not going
We
to tell y'all how
did.
I cut up on her show
She
and
cut
what we talked
up.
about, but if you know me and you follow me, and obviously you do because you're watching this show, you will know that it was definitely a great conversation. You
Hmm.
guys go check out some of the things that Paulette is doing. She has a shop. She has a magazine. She talked about all the things that you have. But if you go to brownstoneworldwide.com, and I
Yeah.
believe she has an app. Don't you got an app
Yeah.
too? That you can
KCCR The
download?
Brownstone
Because
is
we
the
got a
app. You can
radio
download it.
station. How can
Oh,
I get
honey,
a
we
show on
got a
your
whole
radio?
radio
I need to
station.
be giving people some advice.
Listen, this is real easy. I've been trying to get LaShawn to be on KCCR for a minute as an air personality. So it's a podcasting app. And what
Yes.
happens is we actually have air personalities who have shows,
Look
right?
at that.
And so, yeah, so we have Brownstone Podcast University, which is a part of that. You have to go through that course before you actually can broadcast live. So there's so many different nuances and components to it. And I'm going to say this again. Had it not been for me being able to work where I was at the time and developing out the skills that were necessary, I would not be where I am. So I won't ever
Mm.
forego the fact that it benefited me in more ways than just a paycheck and benefits, right? And then here's something else. Always pay attention to the signs, folks. I know we have to
Yes.
wrap, but I gotta say this. Always pay attention to the signs and recognize that everything has an ending.
Yes.
Please know
Yes.
that change is the only constant. And I was
Yes.
ready. And sometimes spirit will push you even when you don't think you can do it. And that's
Yes.
exactly what happened to me. The day that she walked in and she said, "Oh, well, we're eliminating your position." And she had the look of fear in her face, like I was getting ready to jump down her throat. I didn't understand that. But all of that aside, what she didn't understand was she was a part of a divine intervention that needed
Mm.
to happen.
Yes.
Right. So I need you all to understand that sometimes when things like this happen, we asked for it. I had been
Mm.
asking for years.
What you be
And
praying
here's what
about?
I know. What you been praying for?
Yes.
Okay? What you been praying for? I have been praying to get up out of there. I was
Mm.
begging. I was like, "Oh my God, it's time for me to leave." And now that when it showed up, I knew. In my
Yes.
head, I knew. That's
Yes.
why there was no reason for me to be upset. It wasn't any reason for any tears or anything. I had not mourned, not one time, because I knew my time was up. You got to know when it's time to go.
You got to know when it is time to go. Listen,
Period.
Paulette, we are so humbly grateful for your time, your story, and your tips that you've shared, not only about bouncing back and how you've been able to do that flawlessly, but also how to prepare yourself while you are functioning as a business for a business, and also the red flags that you should be watching out for to know that
Absolutely.
your time
Yeah.
might be coming up for
Hmm.
a layoff. And before we go, there are a few things that I want to share with you all. 6 things that you should do if you've been impacted by a layoff. The moment that you find out that you are notified of being a layoff, you want to ask for it in writing. You want to get it formally in writing from your employer so that you have what they are recording as your actual last day work. Because sometimes it's not the day you've been notified or the day you've been walked out of the office. Sometimes your last day worked could be 90 days from then or 2 days from then, but you want to know what they're recording it as, because when you go to file for unemployment or when you go to file for other state or government benefits, they're going to ask you that question: what was your
Yeah.
last day work? And
Hmm.
what was your last day of employment? If you don't know those 2 dates or you get them wrong, you risk losing out on benefits that you are rightfully earned. Don't think that you can just call your HR person and get that information, because they might be laid off too. And then you
Yep.
don't have the email address of anybody to contact, or maybe you just have a work number, or maybe you don't have a
Hmm.
direct line, or maybe that company goes out of business. You just never know. But get it
Hmm.
in writing and have those 2 dates clarified. I cannot stress that enough. The second thing I want to share is, if you get a notice that you're being laid off, don't feel compelled or pressured to sign the document in that moment, especially if you're over 40. The law gives you a time period to take it home, review it, talk about it with your attorney, whatever you need to do before you sign it. Do not feel like you have to sign it or else you'll lose out. It does not work that way with an agreement. The third thing you want to do is clarify available benefits. When is the last day of your business? Is it the day that it's your last day? Or is it the day that you last worked? Is it the end of
Yes.
the month? You need to
Yeah.
know when your benefits end, because that's how you can plan to get all your appointments in, your children's
Hmm.
appointments in, or whatever you need to do before you have no insurance or COBRA kicks in. Okay. Number
Right.
4, speaking of COBRA, if they don't offer it, ask for a COBRA contribution. COBRA is where the government has a law that says you can keep your benefits without your employer contribution. So suddenly, the
Hmm.
$200 that you were paying a month for your medical benefit plan has now turned into $2,000 a month because
Right.
the group plan that you were a part of and the discount your employer was getting to allow you to pay that $200 is now gone. So all COBRA does
Mhm.
is say you're entitled to continue to receive benefits under your existing plan for 24 months, but it doesn't
Mhm.
say that the employer has to continue to contribute to that. So what you
Right,
want to
right,
do
right.
is ask for that. Do not feel like the terms of the layoff notice are final. Come back and ask for some things. And one of the things you may want to ask for if it's not offered is, will you still contribute to my COBRA benefits? And on that note, if you find another employer and they have a waiting period for you to get benefits, ask that employer if they will contribute to your COBRA benefits until you're able to be covered under theirs. Do not be afraid to
Mhm.
ask for that because COBRA is expensive. Number 5, ask for things like job search assistance. They have agreements with agencies that will help you do your resume for free, that will help you find a job for free, that will help you with interviewing skills for free. Don't feel like you
Right.
have to go out and pay for these services if you're being laid off for a job because your employer may very well be able to offer you assistance in that area. And then ask for forgiveness for things that you might owe, like tuition reimbursement, relocation. If they're laying you off, you shouldn't be responsible for repaying these
Right.
items. So make sure you clarify that if you know you've reaped some of these benefits and it's not in the letter that they send you in writing, that you will not be responsible for them. And the last thing is probably the most important thing that I can stress. If you don't do anything else that I said, make sure you check your address in the system and make sure your address is current, especially if you've been a long-time employee and you have not updated and you move, because a lot of times your last check is a live check. It's not direct deposited. And if the address that they have on file for you is not correct, your last check will be lost. And then they will
Correct.
say, it's going to take us time to find it. We got to wait to see if anybody cashed it. I mean, there's this whole process that they'll have to go through before you can get a replacement check. So make sure that your address is current so that you can receive your last check if it is, in fact, given by mail and not direct deposit. The same thing for your W-2s. Being
Mhm.
laid off, as
Mhm.
Paulette has shared, is not the end of the world. You just need to make sure that you're prepared before, as we talked about today, during, and
And
after, so
after.
that you too can bounce back. Paulette, we thank you so much for being here with us today.
Of
I'm going to go ahead
course.
and send you in the back as we close out the show,
Right.
but we
Thank
appreciate you. Thanks,
you.
Paulette. So, you guys, we had a great show today. We talked about layoffs. We talked about the red flags to look for to determine if you are, in fact, in jeopardy for a layoff. We also talked about how to bounce back. Paulette shared her story, gave some tips. If you missed it, it is available on YouTube for the replay. So, make sure that you subscribe to this channel so that you give us encouragement and motivation to keep going and keep publishing this content that's always necessary, but not always popular to hear. I want to thank you guys for joining and reminding you that we're going to be here next week, Thursday, 8 p.m., and we're going to be talking about why your affirmations and your declarations are not manifesting. What are you doing wrong? You're stating these affirmations every week and you're writing these down in your journal, but you're not reaping any benefits or you're not seeing anything come to pass. We're going to be talking about why that is next week. As always, I'm going to close you out with our Unplugged trailer. Make sure you go to unpluggedconference.com. Look at the conference, purchase a ticket. Tamika, I see you're on the show. Go get your ticket. We have talked about it, and any other business leader, HR professional watching, make sure that you go and support this event. It's an experience like nothing else that you will ever experience. So make sure you check that out and tune in next week for another episode of the HR Plug podcast.